All right, and we're recording. So I was supposed to remind you all, or I was reminded to say, welcome to the Thursday night team call. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason Nicholson. I'm the other half of the Tammy Nicholson family. I think I probably get introduced for the most part as this is Tammy's husband. I'm used to it now. It's all good. Most of our friends are like Beachbody people or PTO, PTA, whatever you want to call them people. So I am a John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer, and I am moving more and more, and we'll talk a little bit about it tonight, but I'm moving more and more towards that as my standalone career. Literally yesterday, we had a discussion about me retiring from my corporate job within the next probably couple months. So that's kind of scary, very scary. Especially with the state of the world and the economy that's going on these days. But I've been able to put some things together and build some momentum. And so that's what I want to talk to you guys about tonight. It's really momentum. And I've got a lot of notes here, so forgive me if I'm not staring at all of you. But, you know, one of the things that I've learned going through some of this process is that momentum can be your best friend or your worst enemy. You think about it where I know we've all been in a slump at times, and you just kind of feel like the more you're doing, you're just digging. Hey, Michelle, you're just digging and digging and digging. And sometimes you're trying to dig your way out of a hole, and that's that negative momentum. But at the same time, you can get up and you start your day off a certain way and you start moving in a certain direction. It just seems like you have that day that you look back and like, wow, today just flew by and everything just went perfect. Like you don't have to ask the kids to do their homework. You don't have to ask them to clean up after themselves. It just happens, right? And you have a good day at work, everything's going great. So you got to kind of think, what caused that? What happens to make me or to make today just go by so easily? And so I've been doing a lot of studying on that. Think about how can you minimize that bad stuff and then add more to the good stuff. And it's part of what we've talked about before with having a plan and then kind of evaluating how your day went and thinking about what you did and how you can redo that and kind of put together some of those tasks and things. So with momentum, though, as you probably know, it's the hardest thing about momentum is just getting it started, getting going in the right direction. And then for me, it's not as much getting started as keeping it going. And I always use the example of my workouts because I've said it, I don't know how many dozens of hundreds of times now that I hate to work out, right? I do it sometimes, but I hate to work out. And I see all these awesome pictures of you guys. Like every day I see a different picture of Michelle with her big old Beats headphones on in some kind of crazy pose or something like that, doing her flexing and doing all that kind of stuff. Or I'll see, pictures of Leslie doing, I used to see a lot more of Leslie doing her crazy workout things. Maybe I didn't click on it enough lately and it's not popping up high enough. But I'm seeing all these cool pictures of you guys and gals doing all these crazy workouts. And I see all of David's videos. I do watch those as much as I can. And it's momentum that you're doing, right? I see those more, I click on those. And so you build up momentum, just like in your Facebook, the more that people are clicking on them, right? The higher that you're getting on those lists and those Google analytics out there and the Facebook analytics. So you're moving. But just think about what happened if you stopped doing that for a week or a month. I don't see it as much. So the other people that you're trying to reach, you're not trying to reach me, but the other people you're trying to reach don't see it either. So it's important to keep that momentum going. Now, in my research, what I found is that, so when I Googled momentum, when I was really looking into like, all right, what is behind momentum? Like, what are the other success coaches out there in the world? What do they do to teach about momentum? I found this actual formula. Like there's a real legit scientific formula for momentum, and that is P equals M times V. Now, P is the fancy scientific word for momentum, and that is momentum equals mass times volume. That's the M and the V. So if you think about this, the way that I explained this to Tammy the other day was if the two of us, if Tammy and I were running at you, right? We've got momentum moving forward. That momentum is my mass and her mass times the volume. I've obviously got a lot more volume than she does. Which one of us would you prefer to hit you with that momentum, right? Obviously, neither one, but if you had to choose, it's going to be Tammy. The other example that I really like that I've heard a lot, and I've used this quite a bit, so forgive me if you've heard this, is think about a locomotive coming at you, 80 miles an hour, this huge, big train. They can literally hit a 3-foot thick concrete wall, go right through it and keep on going. So imagine that's your momentum, right? Now that same train, if it's sitting perfectly still and you take a 1-inch block of concrete and set it on the track and bolt that concrete in place, that train will not move. It can't get over that 1 little inch piece of concrete this big, but yet when it's got that momentum going, it can go through 3 feet of concrete and keep going. So now if you think about this, think of that concrete as those are your obstacles in your life. Those are the things that you're trying to break through. That 3-foot thick concrete might be a coach that canceled on you. Now imagine that coach is a diamond coach that canceled on you. We've had that happen. And at the time it kind of sucks, right? And it feels like it's that 3 feet thick thing. But if you've got this momentum going, you just go right through it and keep on going and keep looking for the next one, on to the next one. Now, if you don't ever get that momentum going and that one coach, maybe you don't even have a coach yet. Maybe it's that person that you thought was going to order Shakeology from you, or that person that you met that said they were really interested and they never ever returned your text or your calls, your emails. That's the little 1-inch block that normally if you had any kind of momentum going, you would just run right over that and keep going. But if you're focused on that 1-inch block, that 1-inch issue, now you're stuck. You can't go, you can't move forward. And all of a sudden this doesn't work. I quit, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't have to be related to Beachbody. This could be anything in life. You start off a new career at work, or you start the day off at work and you go in there and because your mindset is, oh, this place is horrible. This place sucks. Trust me, I'm not real happy where my career is right now at my corporate job. That's why I'm making some changes to that. But if I go in every day and I think about, oh man, I've got to do this stupid report. It's going to take me 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes. But if I have that mindset that it's going to take me 5 minutes to do this and it's just a waste of my time, now I've probably spent 15 minutes thinking about it. So this 1-inch little block problem has turned into that 3 feet thick problem, and it's derailed me for the day. So not only can I not get through it, but it's derailed my train. So I can't do anything else. And it kind of compounds. And that's part of one of those where at the end of the day, if you ever think back and you're like, what started my day off so horrible? Why did my day go bad? A lot of times it's just something that's that 1-inch little block, right? Because you didn't have any momentum carrying in from the day before or anything that's moving you forward. So build that momentum so you can blow through those problems. Now, one of the sayings that I actually love is when you're winning, nothing hurts. So you'll see, if you're a sports fan, you'll see lots of times that someone's out there playing and they're playing in a really big game and they twist an ankle, or they, there's stories of people that are playing a sport and they break a leg and they go back out on the field, they keep playing. And then afterwards, after the game, they find out they were playing on a broken leg. I mean, how crazy is that? But their adrenaline is going and they're winning, or they really want to win and they're just pushing so hard that they forget all that stuff. It's like, damn the torpedoes, I'm going full speed ahead. So when you're winning, nothing hurts. There's 3 things that I found that really influence your momentum. And those are, they might seem pretty obvious, and that's your mindset or your awareness. So the way that you think about things, the way that you're aware of your surroundings. And then next is your environment. So a big part of your environment could be the people that are around you, the things that affect you. So if you live in constant flux where, like right now I'm looking at this desk that's a big mess, that doesn't really bother me so much because I've kind of come to grips with that's just how we are. Like I started the conversation off earlier and I mentioned that's just kind of how we are. But if that kind of thing bothers you, then you need to address it. I know we have some people on this call that are super strict about having all their stuff and all their ducks in a row, and that works for you. That's awesome. That doesn't work for me because that's just not how I was raised, and my mindset is a little bit different. But protecting your environment, a big thing with that I found, and something that I've started to do recently, is I've gone on a news diet. So my morning, what that looks like for me is in the morning, I would get up 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I would come in, I'd grab a cup of coffee, I would sit down and I would turn on the business news. And I would watch all the stuff that's going on. And even though it's business news, and I'll tell you, it was Fox Business News, it's still slighted to one side, right? I mean, you can't watch any news anymore without it being to the left or to the right. And they're trying to convince you or talk you into going that way too. And I don't want that. I just want to know what happened. Especially, that's why I watch the business news. What's happening that's relevant to me? What's happening in the economy? What's happening out there in the world monetarily? What's going on out there? I want to know that kind of stuff. I don't need to know about North Korea and who tweeted what and all that other kind of stuff. I just want that basic stuff. So what I found though is I would do that, and during commercials, you know what I would do is I'd do this. I would stop and scroll through Facebook. Oh, who's doing this? Oh, who's doing that? You know what I started to find was I started to get kind of pissed off. Like literally I would get a little bit kind of angry, and then that started my day off wrong. And it wasn't always because I would see something negative. I weeded out a lot of those negative things. You know, I'll be perfectly honest with you. A lot of times I look at it and I go, oh man, that dude's kicking ass. I wish I would have started doing that back then. Or, oh, that girl's doing really, really well with this. Man, I should have started doing that. And you start comparing yourself, and that's your environment, right? So what I've done is I've started changing where I no longer watch the news in the morning. I get up and I have this crazy, nasty drink, and I'll tell you what it is, but it's nasty, but it actually gives me energy for the day. It's 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of, I know, right? I totally saw that, Michelle. I have a pretty good gag reflex, and I gag every morning, but it helps. So 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 teaspoons of fresh lemon juice squeezed. I know, I'm telling you, and I'm not a lemon juice kind of person. A shot of the greens, you know, the powdered greens, the beach butt. Yeah, right. And then water. And so what I found that actually helps a little bit is I put just a little small squirt.
That would wake me up too.
Oh, it wakes you up. It does. Like I have to do it over the sink, and then so I'll dilute it with water, and I just chug it as quick as I possibly can. And so this morning I actually got a little bit of the greens that was still left in there, and it was like, so yeah. But that's part of my momentum, right? That's part of what I'm working on, because I know that I need to get healthier. So I'm about to retire from my corporate job, and I'm going to have to go and get my own insurance. So I better get my ass healthy or healthier so that I don't have to worry about little colds and sicknesses and all that other kind of stuff that used to cost me a $25 doctor visit might now cost me a $200 or $300 doctor visit. Right? So that's my mindset. I'm trying to build that up, dig your well before you're thirsty, right? So I'm trying to do those things ahead of time so that I know that when that time comes, I'm a lot more prepared. Plus, it's something that, you know, one of my mentors referred to me that at that seminar that we went to that I thought was pretty cool. So I said, you know, I'm going to try it and I'm going to work on it. It's part of my daily habits. So now the last one of these 3 things that influence your momentum is your everyday preparation. And that's part of my everyday preparation is cutting out some of those negative things and adding in more positive things. And part of that preparation can be does there anybody on here, just a quick show of hands, does anybody journal or like take notes or any of that kind of stuff? I've talked about that before. It's something I'm trying to do more of. I'm trying to get better at. I do a lot of notes throughout the day, but I do them on my phone. That's something that's really helped me out. Another part of my daily preparation that I've started to do now is to just get out and move, and it's get outside and move. So I know everybody can't do this, especially if you're back east and the weather's starting to change and all that craziness. But I try to take the dog for a walk in the morning. It's usually a couple miles. And it's just something that when I'm doing that, I've got my phone with me and I'm listening to, right now I'm about 4 or 5 chapters into this book. And that's what I do every morning for about 45 minutes. And so that helps me going. And you know what I found is that at halfway through, at the end of the day, I'm like, holy crap, man, I'm just in such a better mood. And I'm not going to say that it's that crazy, nasty drink. I'm not going to say this because I'm listening to a really good book. I'm not going to say that it's because I'm walking the dog or that I'm getting some exercise in. But all those together, yeah, probably have a really big piece in what's doing that for me. But what the idea here is that I'm trying to make some momentum to move forward. So I had a pretty big story that I wanted to share with you. And I know some of you have heard this before. Some of the things that can spur your momentum. So back in 2008, 2009, my company that I was working for cut us all loose. Like they basically laid off everybody in North America, moved everything to lovely China. So we went from 6-figure income to no figure income overnight. And it was kind of that, oh shit moment, right? We were like, okay, now what do I do? Because I'm the only person in the little town that we live in Northern Arizona that does what I do. So it's not like I could just go out and find another job doing that. So that spurred me, right? That pushed me. I started to get really comfortable where I was at, and that pushed me and made me go out and do some crazy stuff that I never would have thought I was going to do. So what that pushed me to do is I went out and I started a credit repair company. I went and I even cleaned out foreclosed houses. Like I took my trailer and I drove for an hour to go to a house that was foreclosed and clean out all the crap and the trash that the people that were living there before left behind. I cleaned and mowed the yards. I did all that kind of crazy stuff. And I'm not a physical labor kind of guy. I just don't enjoy doing that, but I did it because I had to do it. I went and sold timeshare. And if anybody here has ever sold timeshare, man, that is tough. That is really, really tough, especially if you've got ethics or morals. It's tough. And I drove 2 hours down to Phoenix to manage collection agencies of all things, right? So I only got to see my kids and my wife on Friday night and Saturday night. Sunday afternoon, I drove back. And then I worked Monday all the way through Friday. I left Friday and did the same thing over and over again for about a year. But you do what you got to do to get it done. So you might be asking, like, what does that have to do with momentum? At the time, I felt like my momentum was going backwards. But what it was doing was it was building my character, and it was building the steps that I needed to do to move forward. So one time back in that same time frame, we looked, scary figure to throw out there, but I talk about this in the book that I'm writing. We were trying to do the refinancing and all that of our home to get the payment down. I can't remember exactly what it was called back then, but I know it's a term that was thrown out there quite a bit. And one of the things they do is they pull your credit to see, are you behind on your payments, which we weren't. So they said we didn't qualify. But they also want to see how much debt you have. And at that time, I have the exact number, but it was just barely under $1 million in debt, in total debt, real estate, credit cards, house payment, all that kind of stuff. So that was a scary, scary moment. And that was one of those big motivators for me that I needed to get out and do something different, right? So fortunately, we were able to get through all that and move forward and push forward. And there's a couple things that I think that really helped us. So one was we made a commitment for Tammy to go all in on her business. And she did that. So pretty much from then on, she hit Success Club. I think for that first year, I hit Success Club every month, but 1 or 2. And then I think she's hit it every single month. And I know she's told you the story, and I'm way off on the number, but it's like 70 months or something. Michelle probably knows. It's like a crazy number of months, right? I mean, yeah, I lost count like 3 years ago. I just know that every year we go to Summit, she gets a different kind of little sticky badge thing, ribbon or whatever, or a medal or something. But that's really cool. But that's one of the things that built that momentum that kept her rolling. And we talked about this the other day, like on the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th of the month, how stressful this house gets because she might be sitting at 3 Success Club points or 1 Success Club point or no Success Club points. And yes, it gets extremely stressful around here. And we know that when mommy's sitting at this desk and she's got these earbuds in, or her phone is right here, and it's the 28th, 29th, the 30th, or the 31st, you just leave her the hell alone. Because it's probably, no one comes in and says, Mommy, what's for dinner? Nope. Daddy's got that. It's all good. Sweetie, do you want me to stop and pick something up? Yep. Don't even worry about it. You just focus on your stuff. And we talked about this a few weeks ago, like, is it really that important to hit it every single month? And I'll share a story with you that I think kind of re-inspired Tammy, and she may have already shared this with you, but we told the girls, I don't know, like I think Tammy mentioned it, that I don't know if hitting Success Club is worth going through all this stress every month. And did she tell anybody this? She may have told Michelle on one of the calls, but literally Kendall, our oldest daughter, just started bawling. She's like, Mommy, you do that every month. Like you have to hit Success Club. And like, I get a little bit choked up thinking about it because I was standing right there watching. I'm like, holy cow, like these kids know how important something like that is. Obviously, they've heard her say it over and over again, but that's what Tammy stopped and she looked at me. She's like, I guess I'm hitting Success Club. Like, it's just kind of one of those things. And so with that kind of leads me into, like, we've got about 10 minutes left. There's a little scenario that I want to go through with you that I learned from one of my mentors that I think is really pretty cool. And it's a little small assessment that you can do for yourself. This is basically your homework, right? So this is something that you can do for yourself. And let me draw this out for you. And so what I want you to think about are 4 things that help push your momentum forward, right? Now, the biggest thing is that really impacts your momentum is going to be your habits, the daily habits, the things that you do every day when no one's watching you, whether that's working out in the dark and getting it done, or when you get up and you just feel like you know what, I just want to sleep in. The alarm goes off. You're like, I want to sleep in for 5 more minutes, which turns into 15. And you're like, I already missed my workout time. I might as well sleep in for another 15. And you're really not sleeping. So those are the little things, those little habits. So like what I told you, I get up and I drink that nasty drink. I go for a walk. I read my stuff. I listen to my little audio in the morning and all that. And I've got some, before I do this exercise, I've got a couple things for you. If you want to look up some stuff that you can kind of get started on that'll help you out, that's helped me. The first one is Darren Daily. And that's, if you receive the Darren Daily emails, really good little stuff. It's like 3-minute video from Darren Hardy. And it's just something kind of like every day, it's a little bit of a different theme. Love those. A great book out there is called The Morning Miracle. I know a few of you have probably at least heard of that. I know several of you may have read it too. That's something that was really cool that kind of got me more in the mindset. So, and I wish Cody was on this call, because he said something to me one time that really stuck with me. And we were talking on one of these calls, and I think it was one call that I was leading. And I said, man, I just forget to take the trash out. Like, or I'll get up in the morning and we have a rule here, whoever the last one is out of bed, that's the person that makes the bed. So 90% of the time, that's me, because Tammy's always up super early and stays up super late working her business. And he said something to me on there when I said, I just forget. I just get out of bed and I go do my stuff and I just forget. And he's like, you just got to do it, Marine. And if you don't know, Cody was in the Marines. And as soon as he said that, I was like, you know what? That's exactly 100% right. Like, there's no excuse for me not to just do it and just do it right then and there. Same thing applies when I'm walking through the house and I see something on the floor. It's like, do you pick it up or do you just walk by and forget about it? And now I changed my mindset. So I'm just do it. It's discipline. Just stop and just freaking pick it up and do it. So a couple other things that I think would really help you out. So we talked about environment. You want to try to surround yourself with more positive people. There's a couple things you can do that are super easy. Join a mastermind group. There's plenty of them out there. I have them. There's plenty of other ones that are out there that some you are free, some you pay for, whatever. Get into a mastermind group. There's some that are online, that are on Facebook. There's some that you have to call in and talk to. The next thing is join an accountability group. You can make your own accountability groups with each other. You can have 1 or 2 with each other. I'm in an accountability group. It helps me out. And lastly is look into joining your local chamber of commerce. But don't do it for the idea of selling each one of them Beachbody on Demand or Shakeology. Don't do it for that. Do it to go and be surrounded by people that are further ahead in their business than you are, because they're going to give you tips. They're going to help you. Forget about even trying to approach them to sell anything. You're there to add value to them any way that you possibly can. And I guarantee you that you're going to get value from them just for being around them. And some of these are like $20 or $30 a year, right? I mean, at least in my area, I'd be willing to bet you can find some in your area that are inexpensive. But what's really most important is to get you out of the house, because this is a business that can keep you stuck behind your desk all day long. Get you out of the house and it gets you in front of other people. A lot of times they have lunch and learns that are free and things like that. So do that. All right. So here's what I want you to do. Part of your assessment is give yourself a score in each one of these 4 sections. Okay. So this is one of the things that really helps you get momentum going. And I want you to think about this. So the very first one is potential. I don't know if you can see this. So potential. Now, what is your potential? So when you think about that, like, I hope that every single person on here thinks that your potential is unlimited. But if you had to score it between a 1 and a 10, what do you think your potential is? I'm going to tell you that I think your potential is a 10. No BS. I really do. I think your potential is a 10. Everybody on here is a 10. And if you don't think that, you need to change your mindset. That's one of the first things we talked about is your mindset and your awareness. You need to change that mindset, because how can you possibly help someone else if you can't help yourself? Or if you think these limiting beliefs that you're not good enough. So your potential has to be a 10, right? If you believe in God or you believe in some other kind of matter, there's no way that someone that's that omnipotent would put you on this planet and not give you that kind of potential. You hear these stories about people that come to this country with nothing in their pocket. 10 years later, they're millionaires. How does that happen? They've got a lot of potential. They've also got the next thing, though, which is they take a lot of action, right? So the next one is action. So what do your actions look like? This is where we really got to be kind of like hard on ourselves. Are my actions the things that every day, are they, score those between a 1 and a 10? And you can literally do this every single day. It takes you just a couple minutes, if that. So score your actions. Let's say today my actions were a 5, right? So I give myself a 5. Then down here on the bottom right, you can see this, is your results. So what are the results of those actions that I took? All right. More than likely, they're not any higher than whatever your actions were. So you're probably not going to have a 6, 7, or 8 results if you only had 5 actions, unless you got really lucky. And if you got lucky, it's because the actions that you took yesterday, the day before that carried some of that momentum through. That's the great thing about momentum. So let's say your results are a 5. They equal your actions today. All right. And then this last one is going to be your beliefs. And these beliefs have a lot to do with your potential. Okay, so that's why it's so important to keep your potential up there, to recognize that your potential is really a 10. Now here's where this really comes into play. I want you to imagine this as a bicycle wheel. All right, so we've got this big wheel here, and if you can see this, what this wheel really looks like, if you said that this is a 10, so this is a full, but this is a 5, so this only goes to here, because this is only halfway. Your results are only a 5. So let's say your beliefs are a, give me a number, anybody. Beliefs, hold a hand up. 6? All right, so your beliefs are a 6. So they're slightly bigger than that. All right, so this is your wheel. This is what your wheel looks like. See how oblong and kind of funky that looks? Imagine that trying to roll down the road. It'll probably roll about as good as this board, like donk, 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 flopping all over the place. You're not going anywhere. So it's important for you to focus on the things that you have control over. First off, that's your actions, right? So you've got all the potential in the world. You have control over your actions. If you take those daily actions to get that up to an 8, right? That's going to create more results. But what you have to keep in mind is that these actions, if you're just doing actions to do actions, like I know we've got a lot of people that like to do a lot of training, and they like to read a lot of books, and they like to do a lot more training, and they like to watch a lot of videos, they like to do a lot more training. That's not actions, right? You're building your potential, and you're trying to get your 10 potential. It's already a 10. You're trying to somehow get that to an 11, which is going to really throw your wheels off again, but you're not doing the actions. So you got to make sure you're doing not just actions, but you're doing the right actions, deliberate actions. So that's going to get your actions a little bit higher, which is going to get your results a little bit higher as long as they're the right actions. Now, I've talked about it before that practice doesn't make perfect. You've probably heard that in the past. Oh, practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. If you play golf, you know this 100%. Go out there and hit the golf ball 1,000 times a day. Are you going to get better? A little bit. Are you going to get perfect? Hell no. I mean, look at someone as good as Tiger Woods that's gone out and hit the golf ball since he was like 3. Had an awesome, awesome coach. He dumped that coach. Guess where his career went? Right? Because he started changing things up and doing things different and doing some really crazy stuff, but still doing things different. And he kind of, the wheels fell off, right? Literally, the wheels fell off and he lost all of his momentum. At one time, he was expected to be the greatest golfer ever. And now he's just kind of an afterthought. So your results lead into your beliefs. So guess what? When you start having good results, what happens? Your beliefs start to go up because you start getting excited. You start building that momentum. And now this belief that was a 6 now goes to a 7. And then you go back around here again. You've already got the potential. So you do more actions. Your actions start to get a little bit better. And as they get better, you start to do more of them. And you start to do more of those deliberate actions that do better. That rolls into your results. Now your results start to go up and get better. Well, when your results go up, guess what? You start to believe more in yourself. But I'll be willing to bet that there's people on this call right now that don't have a 6 in their belief. There's probably some people on this call that don't even have a 2 in your belief. And so what happens if that's you? You do these actions and you take a lot of time to do that and you're spinning your wheels. You might get a little bit of results, but they're not very big because you're not doing the right actions and you really don't believe in yourself. And so what happens? Oh, you know what? This doesn't work. I knew it didn't work. I knew it wouldn't work. I did everything. I did all the stuff that Tammy told me to do, all the stuff that Michelle told me to do. I watched all the stuff that Leslie was doing. I studied all the stuff that Daisy was doing, but I didn't get the results, so it doesn't work. And then you give up. It's because you gave up on yourself. You lost your belief. You never had the real belief. So the real question is, how do you build those beliefs? Like, how do you get the belief? Now, the belief, I actually prefer to call that certainty. So your belief, if your belief is less than a 10, you're not certain, right? You're not certain that you can do this. If you're certain that you can do, and let's just say that this happens to be your Beachbody business, since everybody on this call, I think, is in Beachbody. If you're not certain that you can make this work, you're not going to make it work. If you're not certain that that new program that you're doing for your workout is going to work because you're going to do it, it's not going to work. You're going to give up. If you're not certain that, you know, you're going to get up tomorrow morning and do the things that you need to do to move you forward, you're probably going to get up tomorrow morning and half-ass it. So the question you have to ask yourself every day is, what is it going to take for me to become certain, to change these beliefs from just like, I think I could do it, to I know I can do it, and I know I can do it every single day. So that's all I have for tonight. Hopefully that's a little bit of something that you can take away. Try this wheel thing. I'm telling you, if you do the assessment at the end of the day, you'll see where you missed and areas that you can kind of improve and things that you can do a little bit better down the road. They must have known I was wrapping up. So I'm probably yelling. Sorry if I'm yelling. I get a little excited and I get a little coffee in me at 7 o'clock at night, 6:30, whatever it is.
Dropping some truth bombs.
Bam! I might have dropped a couple 4-letter words, so sorry, girls. So let me open it up. If anybody has any questions or if anybody has anything that you want to chime in on, is there anything that I missed or that was kind of like crazy off the wall about?
That was
the
awesome,
dog's got their
Jason.
new bark box. I can't hear you. Sorry.
I said that was awesome. Thank you so much. And it's funny, the last thing that you were saying about certainty. I was listening to a class on a course on branding, and I wrote down.
Seriously. Why is it like they wait until? Okay, sorry. Go ahead. You were listening to about certainty.
Yeah, and I actually wrote down a quote that she said, and she said, the only difference between you and a big-name entrepreneur is certainty. The most successful entrepreneurs have an unshakable confidence and a clarity about their brand that propels them forward. They know what they offer is valuable, so they I can't even read my own handwriting. They something without holding back, right? And they figured out exactly who they are, so they aren't afraid if other people don't like them. Your own brand certainty is already within you.
Awesome.
I just love that. I thought that was an awesome quote.
So those of you that were in my, I believe it was in my 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth mastermind group, what you just mentioned right there jogged my memory, and what it made me think of was when Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. So that story is that, if you're not familiar with that, up until I believe it was 1952, no one had ever broke a 4-minute mile in running. And it was just believed to be that you just can't do it. Lots of people got to 4:10, 4:15, 4:20, but nobody had ever on record broke the 4-minute mile because they weren't certain that they could do it. Roger Bannister was certain he can do it, and he did it. And because he did it, all of a sudden everybody else was like, it's doable. Wow, this is one of those records we thought couldn't be done. Within the next year, something like 35 different people broke it. One guy went on to break it something like 137 times in his career. So something that all the way, for the last how many thousands of years, or let's say a few hundred years, but since they started recording it, that people just thought it couldn't be done. And now it happens regularly. There's people that are breaking 345. 350, and that's like crazy. And I'm not a runner. Trust me, I'm not a runner. But that's some crazy numbers. So that's the difference between your belief and your certainty. All right. Anybody else? Cool. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all showing up and participating. And text me, email me, call me, whatever. If you've got questions or if there's anything I can do for you, hopefully I'll see you. I'll get invited to another one of your calls one of these days, hopefully. But feel free to chime in if there's other stuff that you would like me to kind of share down the road. All right. Thank you all.
No, that was great, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Love seeing all you guys too, by the way.
Yeah.